Strictly music, only music and nothing else. And today we're going to go ahead and review the album that just came out about maybe a week ago by the artist known as BigXthaPlug, titled Take Care. So let's go ahead and get right into it and let's see what we think about this. Now, track 1, Take Care. This is a phenomenal way to open up the project. The beat cues up big, and he goes right at it as soon as he gets on. No hesitation. There's a voiceover from his mother in there as well. So that sets the tone for the project and lets you know just what we're in for. There's also an outro from a Wallow interview. They took an excerpt from that, and the beat carries out. And the beat is phenomenal. It's a beautiful sample flip. So this is a great way to open up the track. And that was track 1, Take Care, on the album titled Take Care. Now, track 2, Lost Love. The beat selection on this is nasty. 2 tracks in, and I already see where this is going. Big X has that relentless flow. He doesn't give the beat any space as he pushes it around. So far, he's definitely 2 for 2. I like this track a lot. I like the first track a lot. So we're off to a great start with this project here. Now, track 3, Change Me. Another great sample flip. This beat almost eclipses the previous one, and that's saying something because the previous beat was also just nasty work. It was phenomenal. Big comes in on this track again with that aggressive flow as he attacks the beat once again on this track. However, he does let it breathe a little bit this time. He lets the beat breathe a little bit this time, unlike the track before this. And he gives that sample a bit more time to shine because it's a great sample. So I do like that he kind of gave the beat a little bit of time to shine because he has that relentless flow. He attacks these tracks, but some of these beats are so phenomenal, you just want to hear more of them. So I definitely do like track 3 a lot, and that was Change Me. Now, track 4, Leave Me Alone. Shout out Bandplay. Big fan of Bandplay just in general. He's one of my favorites. When he makes those beats, I'm a huge fan of Bandplay. If you know anything about me, you know I like Bandplay a lot. This track is not as strong as the previous, however, but it is still a very strong track, just not as strong as the 3 that came before it. But it does add to the overall feel of the project, so it doesn't necessarily take anything away. And again, I'm just a Bandplay fan, so you can't go wrong with Bandplay in my opinion. Now, track 5, Therapy Session. Another solid Bandplay beat. Bandplay makes another appearance. X goes into his feelings on his newfound fame a bit on this track, so I like the subject matter a lot. He's giving us his perspective of how fame is changing those around him and just changing his lifestyle. I like the subject matter on this one a lot. This follows the trope of the last track, however. It's not overtly strong, but it's not a weak track. It's just not as strong as we started out, so we do start to slope off a little bit. Tracks 1 to 3 were strong. Tracks 4 and 5 start to slope out just a little bit, but 4 and 5 are still good tracks. And if you do tend to have tracks that are not as strong, you want to put your stronger tracks in the beginning sometimes, and then you want to kind of put the weaker tracks somewhere towards the middle. And seeing as how this is not a very big project, we may just see some of the tracks that may be considered a bit weaker in the middle, because that's just the place that they're supposed to be. You don't want to put your weaker tracks in the beginning and or the end. You want to start strong and finish strong. But these tracks are not bad by any stretch of the imagination, just not as strong as the first 3. Now, track 6, Planting Seeds. Another great Big X Bandplay collab. This one was definitely stronger than the previous 2. This was definitely stronger than 4 and 5. So I like that. Though Big X has a vicious delivery and his lyricism is up there, there is a bit of repetition being shown from 4 to 6. So it's getting a bit repetitive. So at this point in the track, at this point in the project, I'm thinking to myself, is this what we're getting into? Are we starting strong and are we immediately falling off a cliff? These are not bad tracks by any stretch of the imagination, but 4, 5, and 6 sound very similar. So there is a bit of repetition that is going into this project that I'm not a huge fan of, and it's almost as if I wish they would have broken these tracks up just a little bit, because they're all band play beats and Big X approaches them the same way, and they're all consecutive, so it sounds like one long track. 4, 5, and 6 sounds like one long song, and considering that none of these songs are over 3 minutes, it could have been one long song and we could have just avoided this altogether. So that was my stance on tracks 4, 5, and 6. There's a bit of repetition going in there, and I'm never really a big fan of repetition when it comes to these albums and these projects. I do want to see the artist's bag and see how deep that bag is. Now track 7, it's a interlude, you can say, words from Wallow 267. It's a brief intermission for the project. I like the message on this a lot, and it helps break up the project. It helps add to the overall theme, and it's a bit of a breath of fresh air, compared to the fact that we just had 4, 5, and 6 all sounding alike. This couldn't have come any sooner with this intermission, just to kind of wake us up a little bit. So I think that was very well placed. Now track 8, Law and Order. Another great sample flip, and it's clear that the beat is important when it comes to X. The beat brings in his diversity. He approaches all his tracks the same way. In song song 6, 5, 4, he approaches them all the same way, like we just said, and it's apparent that he needs the beat to kind of add that diversity. And though his approach doesn't take away from the track, it does give the impression that there is a ceiling on his particular style. His particular style does seem like there's a ceiling on it, because it does get a bit repetitive, especially when you're listening to the whole track, the whole project, consecutively through. So I think track 8 is good because the beat kind of adds that diversity with that Law and Order sample flip. Now track 9, Back on My BS. One thing this project is not left wanting for is good beats. The beat selection on this project is definitely one of the strong suits. Another very short song, however. None of the tracks on this project are over 3 minutes. This peekaboo style of X is definitely very reliant on the beat selection, however. Since the beats are not lacking, the style becomes passable. We are having a completely different conversation if Big X does not have the beat selection that he has, because he is very reliant on those beats, which is fine because he's in a position to get some of the best beats. I mean, you got Bandplay and other prominent producers on here, so he's not wanting for beats, but his style of rap is definitely contingent upon the beat, at least in this particular body of work. Now track 10, 2 a.m. I like this track a lot. Big X showcases his storytelling ability on a Isley Brothers sample flip of all things. Definitely one of, if not my favorite track on the project, and it's easily top 5, debatably top 1. I would give it top 1 track on the project. A much needed refreshing turn on the project as Big X showcases his diversity independent of the beat. So the previous track, it made it apparent that the beat is definitely a necessity for him, and then right after that, he debunks it a little bit and says, hey, I do have a bit of a bag. Now, it does sound similar to a lot of these other tracks, but that storytelling adds just a bit more of a spin on it. And I wish that we seen this a lot more. We're 10 tracks in, and I wish that he would have showed that bag a little bit more, because as we're 80% way through the project, this is a 15 track project, and it took all the way up to track 10 to get that diversity from X independent of the beat. So I definitely would have liked to see this a lot more, or just have this track a bit earlier in the body of work to kind of break up that 4, 5, 6 monotony that kicked in. But 2 a.m. is definitely, in my opinion, strictly music, only music and nothing else, the best track on here. Now, track 11, Story of X. I'm liking these band play beats a lot. I personally like this track. However, it's not much different. It sounds about the same as 3 to 4 other songs on the track. So we're getting back to that repetition and that monotony a little bit. The project definitely needs these beats to kind of help X out, because he does approach it the same way, like I said. And majority of these tracks, I wouldn't say majority, maybe that's an overstatement, but a good amount of these tracks do sound the same because he approaches them the same way. And we're at the tail end of this project, and I understand now that diversity is no longer a factor. Big X is definitely a niche artist, and this project is a reflection of that. He has a pocket, he stays in his pocket, and those that are checking for him and looking for him, they know the pocket that he's in, and that's the pocket that they're going to. He's not really branching out much, and that's fine. He has an audience for it, so why not? But if we're judging this project objectively, strictly music, only music and nothing else, he's definitely a niche artist, which is good. He has great beat selection, which is great, but the diversity in his approach to tracks is lacking. Now, track 12, the largest. As we reach the tail end of the project, I feel that I heard what I needed to hear. If it was a smaller project, I would feel a bit different, but this is a longer project in terms of track list, but it is a smaller project in terms of time. It's only about 31 minutes for a 15 track project. 31 minutes isn't long, but it feels so much longer than it really is, because a lot of these songs blend together. It's like you're listening to one long song, and the perception of time becomes warped, because when you stretch the songs out, it feels as if you're stretching the songs out, even though these songs are not that long. There's no song on here over 3 minutes. He comes in for maybe 2.5 minutes max, maybe 2:40 if we're lucky, 2:42, 2:43, whatever. And then he attacks the beat, and then he gets out of there, and then the beat does majority of the heavy lifting. You hear that enough times, and you will start to kind of drown out and feel the same way when you're listening to this track from 1 to 15. When you're listening to this project from 1 to 15, you realize a lot of these songs sound the same, and it makes a 31-minute project feel like a 40-minute or a 50-minute project. So as we approach the tail end on track 12, it's just giving the illusion that this project is much longer. And I feel if we took maybe 5 songs off of this, it would benefit the project greatly, and maybe deluxe it if there's a need and or demand for it. Maybe even 3 tracks you can remove, just so it still meets the album requirements. Now, track 13, this track is a bit of a reward for making it to the end of the project, as this is one of the better tracks on the project, joined by Bandplay once again. Shout out Bandplay. And I firmly believe you can never go wrong with Bandplay. So this is a bit of a reward for sticking around, because this track is very good. It's definitely top 3 on the project, maybe top 5 if you want to make an argument. I would say top 3, and I'm strictly music, only music and nothing else. So I think I know a little bit about these things. So that is a bit of a reward for sticking around, and that was track 13. Now, track 14, Rich Off Rap, definitely top 3 beats on the project. Big X starts to break up the monotony of the project as he starts to empty the clip on these last few tracks. So you are rewarded a bit if you made it to the end of these last few tracks. These last 3 tracks are far more refreshing than the ones before it. So it definitely wakes you up a little bit. If you were asleep, tracks 13, 14, and 15, as we'll discuss shortly, definitely wake you up. Now, track 15, They Don't Know. Big X finishes the project in vintage Big X fashion with a strong beat and that straight through style, and you can't be mad at that at all. With the plug, you start how you finish, strong. So he had a very strong beginning and a very strong end. Overall, what do I feel about Take Care by BigXthaPlug? I feel that if you make some of these songs longer and you take some of these tracks off of the project, let's say you make a 12-song project with maybe 2 or 3 songs, maybe at the 3-minute mark, I feel we have a completely different project. He has a very strong opening. He has a very strong ending. But the middle, the meat and potatoes of it, a lot of that could have been condensed and combined. All of these songs are about 1.5 minutes, 2 minutes long. You could have easily stacked some of these songs together. I mean, those 3 songs that you had back to back to back with Bandplay, those could have easily been condensed. Bandplay is talented enough to be able to do some beat switches and stuff like that. That could have been, instead of 2 songs, that could have easily been 1 song, or maybe instead of 3 songs, that could have been 1 song and or 2 songs. So there was definitely some structuring issues, I feel like, with this project. Overall, it's a good body of work, something that I'll be listening to more and more and more. I do like it. However, as a whole body of work, I won't be listening to it as a whole body. I'm going to be picking out some of the songs that I like, and then that's going to be what I give some more burn. As a body of work, I feel like this isn't the greatest body of work, but he does have some bangers on there. So he may just be more of a single artist, and the body of work thing, he always has room to grow on that front. It's not a bad project by any stretch of the imagination. I think it could have been structured a bit differently. For a project that's only 31 minutes long, there's no reason why I should feel like I'm listening to it for longer than that. So there's definitely some structuring. And, I would love to see a song that's over, around 3 minutes or anything like that, or even close to it. A lot of these songs are in and out, and they're very, very short. But overall, I think it's a good project. I definitely recommend you check it out. Get in the comments. Let me know how you feel about it. Like, comment, share, subscribe. And I would definitely want to get your thoughts on this. Strictly music, only music and nothing else. BigXthaPlug, take care. Go get that and get at me.